Hi, everyone. I wanted to jump in here for a quick update. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be revisiting a handful of our listeners' favorite episodes while we get our summer lineup ready to kick off in early June. I'll still be dropping our fresh solo episodes this month, focused on reinvention, identity shifts, and the conversations women are quietly having behind the scenes as they navigate change in life and work. So be sure to catch those as they drop. Our new guest lineup is right around the corner, and it's going to be amazing, so be sure to stay tuned.
A lot of us don't feel safe in our body, and EFT tapping can create safety in your body, because if we don't feel safe biologically, we can't create the change that we want. Welcome to The Change Effect, the podcast that helps you turn life transitions into powerful new beginnings. One story, one shift, one breakthrough at a time. I'm your host, Noelle Van, an author, leadership coach, and change strategist who spent years in corporate America helping innovators and leaders break through barriers to create success on their own terms. I now work with women to step into change to create a life they love. Whether you're putting yourself at the center of your own story, redefining success, or making a power pivot in your life, career, or business, you're in the right place. Each week, we dive into conversations with trailblazers, change makers, and everyday women experiencing the ripple effects that come from overcoming the fear and doing it anyway, providing actionable steps, practical strategies, and a whole lot of fun along the way. So if you're ready to step up and become unstoppable, buckle up and let's get started. In a world that constantly demands more output, more perfection, and more resilience, many of us are running on empty. The pressure to keep up has left countless women and educators stuck in survival mode, disconnected from their own needs. But what if true success isn't found in doing more, but in feeling more? Peace, safety, and ease within our own bodies. Today on The Change Effect, we're diving into the essential conversation about stress, burnout, and the power of nervous system regulation to help us expand rather than just endure. Carly Catherine is an Ontario-certified teacher and certified emotional success coach who helps women and educators move from survival mode to emotional expansion through nervous system regulation and EFT tapping. After years of overfunctioning and pouring everything into her students, family, and work, Carly hit a breaking point, realizing she'd built a life that looked successful but left nothing for herself. Through the practices of EFT tapping and nervous system work, she began to unwind old patterns of hyper-independence and self-abandonment, learning to feel safe in her body, express emotions, and reclaim joy, creativity, and purpose. Carly now teaches others to do the same by bridging science and soul to help women regulate stress, build emotional capacity, and lead from self-trust instead of burnout. She's the founder of The Healing Hive, a global EFT tapping community for women, and a guide for those ready to move from exhaustion to expansion. Carly, welcome to the podcast. It's so wonderful to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for having me, Noelle. I'm so excited to be talking to you and to connect with your listeners and your audience.
So, Carly, it's such a thrill for me to have you here because I've definitely had a need to regulate my nervous system for the past, many, many years. But
yes,
for the past several years, have shown much greater interest in that and love to see the different techniques that we can use to do that. Can you take us back a little bit and just tell us where you're from so we can kind of set the stage for then sort of what you're doing?
Absolutely. So I am an educator by trade. I am a lifelong learner. I am just always in the trenches. I want to learn. I want to teach. I want to share. And in that, I poured everything into my classroom, my students. I like to refer to it as eldest daughter energy. I am the eldest. However, you do not have to be the eldest daughter energy to identify with this. But I was someone who rarely asked for help. I never said no. I minimized my own emotions. I was people pleaser. I can do this for you. I can do that for you. I can do this for you. And it was just, I genuinely believed that that's who I was. I was just independent. That is something that I took great pride in. And it wasn't until I started burning myself out and really noticing these behaviors that as soon as I got home, I was crashing because I was over-functioning and I was not asking for help. I was being everyone to everything that when I got home, I had nothing left for me. And in that, I just really realized that something had to change. Something had to change. And I thought I was the issue. Like, I genuinely believed that I was broken. There was something inherently wrong with me. Like, why can I do all of this in my 9 to 5, so to speak?
Yeah.
And of course, as a teacher and educators out there, like most careers, you don't leave it at the door. It comes home with you.
And I was like, why am I struggling to unload a dishwasher? What? And it sounds so ridiculous, but that's where I was at. It was a challenge to have a shower, especially if I knew I had to wash my hair, blow dry, and straighten. I was like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do all this. So I had so much shame, and I didn't tell anyone about it. I kept it to myself. I thought I was broken. And then it was through learning about EFT tapping that I realized it's my biology. It's not me. It was just a lens, So it was me identifying that I'm not hyper independent. That was a survival mechanism that I needed when I was young, and I was egocentric and I didn't have the context. So this isn't good, bad, yes, no. It's just simply this was a survival mechanism that I adopted to keep me safe at one point in my life. And that's all I knew. So that's just what I kept doing.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again until it became, I couldn't live like that anymore. I was so burnt out and so exhausted that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
So what made you kind of think about alternative things? I mean, what brought this into your
That's a great
space?
question. As I'm sure most of your listeners will identify with, because I've listened to several of your podcasts now, the women listening are wildly capable. They're competent. They're intelligent. They're doing all of the things. And if you're like me, you're operating from your mind all the time, So I tried therapy and I read all the self-help books. I did the, 5 a.m. club, getting up, doing all of that. And it served me to a certain extent, right? But it was the energy behind it, because it was more of I'm doing this, as opposed to calming my system, right? The intention behind it was just to keep doing and not being.
Yeah.
And I finally just realized after going to therapy, and therapy is great, and I'm not knocking therapy, but for me personally, I had this fleeting thought, all I'm doing is talking about it. All we're doing is talking about it. I need to move from the mind. I get why I'm doing it.
Right.
I understand. I can rationalize. I logistically understand that. I'm cognitive. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's not changing. And I'm continuing in these patterns, and I might be good for 2 weeks. And then before I know it, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And then I'm resentful because I'm baking cookies at 11 p.m. that I don't want to be baking.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but here I am, right?
Complete.
So I just realized that I had to look elsewhere. And for whatever reason, I intuitively felt that I needed to get my body involved.
Love that. That's a good intuitive push.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I listened. So then, being an educator and a lifelong learner, I started just researching things.
Nice.
Looking things up. And I stumbled on an EFT weekend course. I took it, and instantly I was like, this is it. This is it for me.
Okay, so you have to tell us a little bit about the basics around this, because a lot of people go, what is tapping, or what is EFT?
I know I did.
Yeah. It's definitely like a little bit of a black box.
So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And what it really is, it's a mind-body, primarily a body tool that blends ancient Chinese acupressure, Western psychology, neuroscience, all together into one. And what we do is we use simple language while tapping on 9 acupressure points. So I'll walk you guys through it for our listeners. The first is your karate chop. So right on the fleshy part of your palm, right there.
Okay.
So that's the first point. Then you've got your eyebrows, just where your eyebrows begin. And it doesn't matter if you do one side, both, all works. Then we've got our temples, just the side there. And just like a gentle tap, we're not banging on them, just a little. Then we've got under our eyes. And we have under our nose, above our lip, yeah. And then we have on our chin, below our lip, just in that little crevice there. And then we have our collarbone, just kind of where it starts, although you can kind of move in and out. And then you have under your arm, if you decide to wear a bra. Okay, right where that bra would lie. And then the last one is the top of our head.
So why is this all in the very top section of your body, not your feet or your...
Yeah, well, there's hundreds of acupressure points all throughout our body. However, in EFT tapping, these were the 9 that are used, and these are the 9 that all of the science backs.
Got it.
So
Got it.
that's just where the science and where they've done all of the testing. So when we do EFT tapping, we use even those statements, but let's bring it back where we can just tap on the points. So as I'm tapping here on my karate chop and as I'm going through the points, and I encourage your listeners to tap as they're listening, as long as you're not driving and you're doing something safe. So this is sending signals to your amygdala, which is the security part of your brain that looks for threats, and its job is to keep you safe. Okay?
Can you do them in different sequences?
You can, absolutely. Okay. You can also find a favorite spot. And if, like, I love my collarbone, so I tend to do my collarbone when I'm driving, one hand on the wheel, one hand here. But as we're tapping, our body recognizes that as being a calming signal. So it sends that signal to our amygdala that I'm safe right now, which then allows your prefrontal cortex, that's your critical thinking, this is where you do all of your problem solving, to come online.
Okay.
Right? So when we do that, we can make aligned decisions and choices. We're responding rather than reacting. That's where all the good things come out of. And just by tapping, we are sending signals of safety.
How does this show up? Because I know that in the moment, and lately I've been talking about stress and anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And just did an episode on that, which it's kind of about like, how do you jump in the moment when you need this most? But can you back up first before telling us that? What is it actually doing? What's actually happening?
It's rewiring your brain.
Got it. Okay.
To create safety.
Got it. Okay. So it's not a concentration shift. It's a physiological change.
Yeah. And this is the thing. And this is where, earlier, and I will just go back, we operate from our mind. And the thing is, something that a lot of us fail to understand is that, and we live in a culture and a society that encourages, we think about things, and we're cognitive. We need to understand. When we understand something, we're better able to adopt it, jump in, be like, oh yeah, I'm willing to try that. But the thing is, if we look at our vagus nerve and all the nerves in our body, 80% go from our body to our brain. Okay. Yeah. So if you are not body aware, if you're not feeling safe in your body, if you're not attuned to how your body responds to stress, to people pleasing, to hyper independence, and you're only operating from your mind, you can't regulate. You can't think your way into regulation.
Yes.
Right? And that's the issue. And that's where EFT comes in. Because just by tapping, I can be watching TV while I'm tapping. I can be waiting for my toast while I'm tapping. And I'm still sending those signals of calm.
Got it. And how have you applied this? Like give us some examples. You could be sitting in the waiting room of a doctor's appointment. I don't know. I'm just thinking of times.
Yesterday, and I had a new doctor and I was tapping. Because I felt, because I was like, oh, this is a new doctor. I've never met him. There's always a bit of a power imbalance. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I was just tapping in the waiting room, and I was tapping in once they bring you into the room and he or she is coming to meet you. I was just tapping the entire time, just saying. And you can use words as well, like, oh, feeling a bit nervous about meeting this new doctor.
Right. But is it something that you have felt physically? You can tell that it's changing the state of your...
So the thing is, though, I want to preface this by saying, initially, no. I've been tapping for 3 years now, consistently. So the more you do it, the more you can then turn into the safety mode or the rest and digest. So when you're first starting, you're not necessarily going to notice anything. Right? But it's the more you do it, the more you practice it. I can be in an anxious spiral, which I was the other day. I identified it. I noticed it. I started tapping and talking. I was able to bring myself down within 3 minutes.
What's so wonderful too is, and this is something I actually went over yesterday because I just did an episode on this, and I was talking about that disruption of pattern, right? So when you start to go into a spiral of whatever, whether it's a thought spiral or you're physically feeling like you're feeling that anxiety come up, simple things like concentrating on certain things within a room or, the countdown method, all the kinds of things that you can do to it's like breaking a pattern and getting yourself back on track. This is just the way I visualize it.
Yeah,
right?
and that's a great way.
Offline, I got to go back online.
And that's super helpful.
Yeah.
And the part of it is trying things out that work for you. Is EFT going to be, it would support everyone, but it's not going to be for everyone, right?
Right.
So I love that, Noelle, that's a really important part, is that it's just breaking up that.
So you, as a teacher, This is something that's intriguing to me because you are middle school, right? Is it middle school teacher? Okay,
school.
which I love. Bless you. Bless you. You do it's an important job.
Thank you.
And a thankless one. With your students, tell me a little bit more about that, because I love that this kind of thing starts earlier, right? Where kids can start to understand spatially what's going on and internally, all those things that I think as a kid, if I had known more of that, boy, would my life maybe be a little different, right?
Yeah, and I feel very grateful and blessed that I have the opportunity to do that. And I have a school and administration that supports that and sees the value in it. Because we are in a mental health crisis when we look at education, definitely, both our students and our educators themselves. First and foremost, you have to model it. So, I do work with teachers and I let them know if you're not building this practice yourself and if they don't see you using it in the classroom, we know it's not going to happen. Right. So first and foremost, I model it. So, I'm feeling really frustrated right now because there's a lot of extra noise. And right now I'm tapping on my collarbone for your listeners. And I'll go through, I am very frustrated. But of course I'd be frustrated because everyone's talking over me. I just need to take it. Right. So even just doing that, and not everyone will even pay attention or notice, but the ones who will.
Right.
And then I offer it to them at certain transition points. I offer it to them before we're going into a test, maybe. If we're, I just was doing flag rugby. So we did a little regulation before.
Yeah.
I lead it and I invite them to. They don't have to. And the beauty is we co-regulate even if they're not tapping because our nervous system work together. So they're going to pick up my cues, that it's safe, that we can all just...
Well, and I can imagine you being, it's that energetic flow too, right?
Absolutely.
When you're in a state of calm. Have you ever noticed that in your classroom? Have you ever been able to put yourself in that state?
Yes.
And then suddenly it tempers it a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's amazing.
I have, and depending on the time of the day and where the transitions are and depending whose class I'm walking into. Right. Like I will regulate before I go in. Yeah. And even just that, it's the energy that I'm bringing into the classroom. And it changes the tone. Or it just changes, and this is the beauty of tapping, it changes my capacity in holding the truth, where I can acknowledge I can feel really frustrated with this classroom and also recognize that they're having a hard time. It's a both and. And that's the beauty of tapping, is it allows us to hold our truth and acknowledge how we're feeling in this moment, not bypassing it, not sugarcoating it, but really honoring how we're feeling, while also giving ourselves compassion and acknowledging this.
Right.
And
well,
this.
and just what you were vocalizing when you were doing it, which was not only speaking to yourself, but speaking to the kids, right? Of like, okay, right now I'm feeling a little frustrated. There is something inherently valuable, I think, about vocalizing a feeling, whether it's for you or for the person that's listening to it. Like you said, you're holding that space for them to be compassionate about what you're going through. Yes. Right? Because they're hearing you say it. Yeah. And they understand what's happening too. Because I think with kids especially, I'm so fascinated by it because I do think that it's such a powerful opening for you to find your voice.
Oh, it is. It is, Noelle. My whole personal work this last year has been on my throat chakra and just opening my voice and sharing my voice and allowing myself to be seen and heard. That would have not been possible without my tapping.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a broader question on that, though, because I think this is really interesting. It's so true, and I've done that myself. I think many women find ourselves in that. If you are someone listening and you are having a difficult time accessing that, and I will raise my hand initially to say, I've always told people that one of the tricks I always started off with in the very beginning, and this is like before I did this podcast, before I was getting up in front and speaking in front of people, I would sing.
I was so crazy before this podcast.
And it sounds so silly, but like it's something that simple that I never did when I was little. My mom was a singer in church, but she was every Sunday she would sing. And I remember that always feeling very like I could never access that and I would just steer away from it. But was told that was one of the things to do because it's exercising your throat. It's getting you to feel more empowered, more. But so I was going to ask you, what are some other things that you've talked to women? Because I guess I'm sure that if women are coming to you asking about this, there's the anxiety or stressful component, or sometimes maybe even depression component.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Along with that, what do you teach them, or what are some of the techniques that they might be able to access?
I could even use a little example. We use even those statements in EFT tapping. So if we're specifically talking about throat chakra, or even just, the themes of independence, hyper-independence, people-pleasing, you can create an even though statement. So this always starts on your karate chop.
Okay.
So you could say something, even though part of me learned to stay safe by doing it all, I deeply honor how hard that part worked.
That's
right?
good.
And if that doesn't feel right, change it. Even though I'm not sure why I'm so independent, I'm open to learning.
Right.
So even just using what you're hung up on or what's coming up for you, even though it's so hard for me to say no, I accept that that's the way I feel. Even though it's so hard for me to say no, I accept that that's the way I feel.
And she's tapping everyone while she's doing this, which
tapping
is
on
helpful.
my karate chop.
But now, this is where, and maybe it's taking longer to drive the point home to me. The vocalization along with the sensation.
Yes.
What is that connection point?
Okay.
What is...
Yeah. So your nervous system doesn't speak in language.
Right.
It speaks in sensations, feelings, emotions, all of those sort of things. So when your nervous system goes into sympathetic, so fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Yep.
So even if the idea of you, like, okay, I have to say no to my boss because I can't take on this task. And if you're noticing in your body, your physiology, maybe your heart rate's increasing, maybe you're already starting to spiral, right?
Yep.
That's a sign that you are dysregulated. Step one, attuning to how your body's experiencing it. Okay?
Yep.
So the words are associated with the sensation in your body. It's kind of like your body has created that together. So when I say no, I have this physiological response. I don't know why. I don't need to know why, but this is what's happening physiological to me. That's a signal I'm dysregulated. And then the next part is using EFT tapping to send those calming signals to your amygdala while saying, I don't feel safe saying no.
Got it. Okay.
I don't feel safe saying no. So as you do that, you're building safety in your nervous system around saying no, because you're calming the part of your brain that's on high alert with the idea of saying no.
Got it. So it's almost like you're you're almost retraining it or resensitizing to be okay with that. It's almost when I think of like triggers, right? You've got a trigger happening. Now this is how do you calm that trigger and make it okay?
And, when you first start, it might just be, I can't say no. The more specific you get, the better. So I really can't say no to Rita, who works in HR, or whoever, right? Like whatever that trigger is for you is more helpful because that's what's coming up for you in your nervous system.
Right. It's so powerful. I just think the body is such a remarkable thing, but it also can wreak havoc. We feel so deeply within our body, and I don't think that we always connect those dots where we realize, no, I think I told you this before. Yeah, I did not know. I could not name an emotion. When I first got sober years ago, would not have been able to. There's no way. But when you recognize that you had this dissociation to some degree, that's the critical starting point, because then you can start realizing, oh my gosh, there is a whole world of messages that I'm not even paying attention to.
No. And a lot of us don't feel safe in our body to feel that.
Right.
A lot of us don't feel safe in our body. And EFT tapping can create safety in your body. Because if we don't feel safe biologically, we can't create the change that we want.
Yes. Amen. I totally agree.
Right?
So tell me, what was a turning point with you? Like, did you have a moment, like you said, you've been doing this for 3 years. What has been the biggest shift for you?
Yeah. And it's hard to articulate that. And I think too, because my whole body's involved now. But I would say when we look at humans, we experience life through 3 main channels: our mind channel, our body, so feelings, sensations, and behavior. That's how we relate to our world. I was living in my mind channel and my mind channel only. And then I had some behaviors like the people pleasing, can't say no, right? I will say yes to everything. Those were my behaviors. When you can open up all channels, life is so much more enjoyable. Like I can move from a spiral of anxiety to doing 3 minutes of tapping to having a kitchen dance party by myself.
I love that.
Right.
I love it. Yes.
You know, and it doesn't have to be so heavy. And that was something when I started, I thought healing and all of this had to be like grudging and painstaking, and it is. But it also is so joyful and so much fun when you can just let your body lead. Right? So what you were saying, in the past, preparing for a podcast or a talk, I would be writing all my notes. I'd be going over it. All of this, like, yes, yes, yes. For this, I had an embodiment practice. I danced for 20 minutes. I sang for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I have some of my crystals out here. I did some tapping.
Yes. Yes.
And I trusted that whatever I need to share and whatever Noelle asks me is what someone needs to hear.
Okay, that is so powerful because I have to tell you, and I was just going to say this because when you were talking about that trust factor, right? Of like trusting yourself internally, trusting your body, it is so important for us to give ourselves the grace because I think part of that hyperdiligence, and I will say this as a type A person, one maybe to another.
Yes.
Part of that hyperdiligence and that making sure that we're always prepared and we've always got things written down and we have our lists. All of those things, when you can actually give yourself the grace to intuitively deliver something, that's a huge win.
Huge win.
And I have come to realize, and I say this just having been doing this podcast for the amount of time I have, I used to prepare like crazy. And I realized after a while, I'm like, you know what? Some of these questions that I put down that I want to ask somebody, I didn't want to ask them in the moment. That was not what came up. And it's kind of like you start to allow life to sort of happen. And then you're not in this constant control mode. And I think it's really powerful to me how that all links together, right?
Absolutely.
Of like being able to breathe, being able to let go and being like, you know what? I think I got this. I think I got this.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. Yeah. So that's what I would say the biggest changes for me. It's just,
yes,
I'm experiencing life differently. That's not to say that I'm not still like 2 weeks ago, I noticed myself and I was like, oh, I have said yes to way too many things at work. And instead of pushing through doing all that, I did some tapping. I spoke my truth. I went to my admin and I asked for something that would support me. And it was not a big deal. In the past, that would never have happened because I wouldn't ask for help.
Yes. Yes. I think the biggest message here too is like asking for help is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. It just is. And we don't realize that until much later in life, I think most of us, because as women, we do everything for everybody. And so that's the badge of honor, right? Is like, how much can I get done?
Well, and that was even, and I love that, even you saying that, Noelle, because I was just, and don't get me wrong, I was still thinking about the podcast and, getting some ideas. Not just like, But, I was thinking of this statement, just talking about the themes is even though I'm capable, doesn't mean I have to do it.
Yes.
Right? Because everyone listening is wildly capable, competent, and intelligent. They can do it.
Yes.
Do you want to? You can do it, but you don't have to. Right? So even acknowledging that.
And I would also say like the boundary piece of this, which I've always, until I finally heard somebody say, setting a boundary is actually good for both parties. One might not be happy about it, but it's the most truth that you can send someone's way, right? Of like, I'm going to answer this in the most truthful way, and I'm honoring you to accept that, and I'm honoring myself to feel it. And it's like, that's it. But boundaries, I think, we get so worked up in what that means. And am I being, bitchy because I'm saying this? It's like, no, you're speaking your truth. And more women need to hear that from more women.
Yes.
Right? I just think that it mirrors that for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When someone does it, it's giving you permission to do it as well. Like, oh, absolutely. Yes. Okay. We can all do it. So let's all do it.
Yes. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your community because I'm fascinated. You have women now. Has this been over the past couple of years that you've accumulated this?
Yeah, it's evolved like anything, right? It just started more with just stress in general. And now we bring in, I love Side note, I read tarot cards and I love all the things like that.
I love to hear that, Carly.
Yeah, thank you. So I do bring in archetypes, and we work with archetypes because, we can all identify with all these larger themes, where I use that to base. And every month it's a different astrological house and major arcana in the tarot card to guide us.
Yes.
And then from that, we just pull out the big themes that resonate with us. And we meet 2 times a week, Sunday and Wednesday. And it's literally come as you are. You can show up in your pajamas. You can have your cozy. Myself and another EFT practitioner, she does the Wednesday nights, where you just tap along. And you don't have to repeat it if you doesn't feel it. But it's just so important that if you're not doing it in community, and if you're not able to just do it, just showing up and just tapping along, right? Like, if it doesn't feel accessible to talk, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You're still co-regulating with us. And that's what we do. We meet twice a week, and the themes change every month based on what I mentioned. And it's a lot of fun. And we always feel good after.
I was just going to say, what a great, at the end, is it in the evenings? Like at the end of
the Wednesday's evening and Sunday is in the morning.
Oh, nice. So people can just kind of show up. And are you tapping around a theme, or you're saying you tap kind of to bring everybody into the circle?
So what we always do bronze tapping. So that's just when you go through the 9 points and you don't talk. So it's kind of just to settle, to signal to our system, we're here, we're ready to tap. And then I will lead. And we work on, so this month we're working with the death card in the tarot. So it's all about transformation. It's all about endings. It's all about realizing that an ending is an opportunity for a new beginning. And we can grieve an ending.
Yeah.
And we can also feel really empowered to take that next step, even if we're scared, because small steps matter and small steps count. So that's kind of what we're working with this month.
Carly, I love it. Okay, we're going to put all of your links in the show notes. And do you mind, will you share with us the 9 points? Because I want to make sure that we give that to listeners too, just to have them.
Oh, yes.
Carly, I want to thank you so much for your time and just talking us through this. I love that there is yet another modality, another technique for people to use, because we need it in this day and age. My goodness. How much do we need this? And if anyone is interested in more about Carly, I will have her website up too. So ask any questions you might have, because she's got a wealth of information about this stuff. And I love the astrologer part of this. So you just told me that at the very last minute.
Yeah, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. Well, thanks again.
Thank you so much. This is such a pleasure.
And that's it for now. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to The Change Effect. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed this episode, so more women like you can find us and take their next step toward creating a life they love.